Hey guys, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and in today's video we are going to be making our next block for our chicken farm series. So if you want to see how to make this cute little egg basket, stick around. Here is our egg basket block, and here I have our free pattern. Now this pattern will not be found in the description box below. This pattern is going to be embedded in the video. And I know some of you, I have shared a few things just trying it out, some of the little blocks, and I have always given you all the instructions on the video as well. But I wanted to try this out, and it is working. I know there's some people who are struggling with it, and I do apologize because that's the last thing I want is for you to struggle with it. But the reason I've had to go this route is because, as I've told you recently, at the beginning of this year, YouTube changed their algorithms. And in the past, it was click rate. That meant, you know, if you had a lot of people clicking your thumbnail, that would help push your videos further. But now they're focusing on shorts and engagement. And as you all know, and as most of you agree, I don't care for the shorts. I don't think I can get videos that are the quality that I have here into a short. So I'm going to continue doing the long version videos. But as far as the engagement goes, when I was going through trying to figure out what I can do to help my channel grow, I realized anytime I had a free pattern in the description box for the video, I would have people just clicking on the video, grabbing the pattern, and exiting. And a lot of people might not have known that it didn't have the directions in it because they just saw free pattern. Other people were clicking on it, getting the pattern, and then setting it aside because they were still working on other blocks and they didn't have time at that point to make that block. And I certainly understand. I've done that myself. But what it's doing is telling the algorithms that people are clicking on your video, and just after a minute or two are discovering they don't like the video and are clicking off. And even though that might not be the case, you're just clicking to get the pattern, it's telling the algorithms that this video is not good and that the thumbnail isn't representative of what people were hoping it was going to be. And so I have tried to research and figure out what else I could do to get this pattern to you really easily, because I want you to have these patterns. I have even thought of just stopping making any block patterns or designing block patterns and sharing them. I would just make projects that didn't need a pattern. And you know, there's a lot of things that I can do like that. And I really love to share these blocks with you because I think they're cute and I think they're fun, and I'm glad to do that for everyone, because I remember when I was home raising my boys and we were living on one income, and you know, and money is tight, and I would really appreciate any time I found a free pattern. So I want to continue sharing these patterns with you like this, but I can't have it hurt my channel. So what I'm going to do is continue to do the way I've done in the past week or two. I will put in the video a full screen that has a QR code and a link. Now I have had to find a place to shorten the link, and right now it's not a paid subscription, but if I use too many of the links, I will have to start paying for it. But I know that the link to my Google Drive, whenever I have these PDFs, is really, really long. And I don't want you to have to type in something that crazy if you're not familiar with QR codes. So QR codes are the easiest way to get them. And if not, you can type in the shortened version that I've put in. And I've had people ask, is it safe? And yes, it is. It's still taking you just to my Google Drive where you're getting your pattern. It's just that it's going through another company which shortens the link for my pattern. And in return, you might have to watch a second of a little commercial. There is a button at the bottom when you pull that up, and it says continue to download or whatever, and that will just click off of it. If you let it go, it'll just take a second and then it'll bring it up. But right now, this is the best I can do, and so I'm going to continue sharing them in the video. Okay, let's get this block made. This is a nice, easy block to do. It has some stitch and flip corners, but most of the things on here go together real quickly, and I think you're going to enjoy this pattern. So I have already gotten my pieces cut, and as you can see, it's a different colorway than I have here. This was Lori Holt fabric, and it's nice and bright and cheery, and I made this one in March, thinking, oh, it kind of looks like an Easter basket, because it could be used as an Easter basket too. But the one I'm making today is going to go along with my rooster and hen placemat. So I'm coordinating those fabrics with these. And again, this is just from my stash. It's not any particular line. A lot of it's Kim Deal, a lot of the Civil War reproduction fabric and things like that. And I think they're coming out really cute. So once you have all of your fabric cuts made according to this printout, it tells you how many, and it tells you which fabric to use, and then I have a letter that we can attach to it. Oh, and I have people still asking me, where do they get these tiles? I will embed a link for these tiles as well. That way, if you hadn't seen them on a previous video, I'll include that link embedded in this video. So you'll have two links that you're going to watch for, and they could be anywhere in this video. All right, now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside, and we are going to take a look at our layout. Okay, so what I think we're going to do today is we're just going to start at the top and we're going to go across. So that means we're going to do this block, this block, this block. And then we'll come down here and we'll work these eggs all the way across. And then we will work the bottom to the eggs, the bottom of the basket. We'll add our sides, then we'll put them together. So that's how we're going to be assembling this. So I'm just going to start with these two blocks right here because they're identical. They are just reversed, mirror image. I need an A, an L, and a B. So A, L, and B. All right. So here's our pieces. Let me back you up just a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take both of the A's. And as I'm putting these together, I see in the display here, my hands look really dry. I've been outside doing a lot of yard work, and between the sun and the dirt, I think my hands are getting dry. So let's see, we've got 2 B's, an L, and 2 A's, and then I'm going to have 2 B's that I'm going to save for later. So let me get those back on this clip. There we go. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our L piece, which is the basket fabric, and we are going to be putting it, these are the 2 blocks right here, and I've got them in the same direction and area that they're going to be on the block. And we are going to be putting these B square fabrics in the lower interior corners, just like this. So be sure you have them just like this. Then we're going to take a marker and we are going to place right there on the diagonal and draw a line there. And then we're going to go over here and make it the opposite angle. And be as accurate as you can. These are larger blocks, so it can be off just a little bit, but you want to be as accurate as you can. And I'm going to take these to my sewing machine. Now you can pin these if you want. And if I pinned them, I would put the pins up in the corner so they're away from my line that I'm sewing. On this one, since these squares right here are 3-inch squares, anytime I have a stitch and flip corner with a 2.5-inch square or larger, I always sew another line 1/2 inch away toward the corner. That way I'm going to have a bonus half square triangle. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to stitch right on the line, and then I'm going to save half square triangles by stitching 1/2 inch away from the line. And there are my squares. And I'm just going to trim 1/4 inch away from that seam that I made on the diagonal. And if I have the other seam, it'll be right between them. And it doesn't have to be exact. Just make sure you have enough seam allowance in between those 2 stitches if you stitched both of them. I should have changed my blade out. Now I've got 2 bonus half square triangles that I can save for another project. All right, so now we're going to fold this just like this and just like this. And I'm going to give those a press because what we're doing now is pretty important to get it pretty nice and straight. All right, so they're nicely flattened, and I've put them back the way they are on the pattern. Now we're going to take our square B and we're going to do the same thing. We are going to put it in the bottom interior corner, and you want to be as exact on this as possible so that your handle is a nice straight handle. And I'm going to draw a line from corner to corner on block B. Now I am going to be pinning this one because I want to make sure that I don't move this one. And if you're not saving your half square triangle, and this one I will, I think it's a 2.5 inch one, I'm not sure, but I think it's something like that. If you're not saving it, you could put a little glue right here because this is just going to be thrown away. But I'll put pins in mine. And you can kind of see the thickness of your handle on both ends. And you want that to be straight. Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew directly on those lines, and I'm also going to get my half square triangles too. Okay, so I've removed my pins, I flipped it back just so I can see if this line looks good, and it does. If yours looks really wide on one end or it looks a little wonky, you might check and make sure you stayed on your line. And if not, you might want to take it off. If you don't care about that and you think it looks fine, by all means leave it. But I think mine look okay. So now I'm going to cut between my 2 stitch lines. Or if you've not made the stitch lines, just cut 1/4 inch away from your seam. If you hear sheep in the background, the mama sheep keep bellowing for their babies. Their babies start running around and they're all in a little area, but the babies start running around, and then the moms are trying to figure out where they are, and so they'll holler at them, and then the little ones will start hollering back, and so then you have this kind of like a Marco Polo game going on out there. But I tell you, they're really cute right now. They just jump up and down, just so much energy. All right, so there are those two blocks, and I think they look pretty good. Now let's do this inside block here, and that is C, M, and D. As soon as I finish this block, I need to get out and mow our yard. We have not mowed yet, and it is getting really tall. We've either had rain or snow, so it's been hard to get out there. So this is C, this is D, and then M is your basket fabric. And this is just a real simple, sew these two together, sew these two together. So you'll put right sides together. You can pin if you need to, sew a 1/4 inch away. Put this one here, pin it if you need to, a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So I'll do that and I'll bring you right back. And there we have that one. And I pressed all of the seams going up on this one, and I pressed all of these going toward the bottom corner there. So the seams are going to go opposite directions. Okay, and so this is the way it's going to line up. Now we need to piece these together, and this is probably the trickiest part. And so what you're going to do is you are going to be putting end to end first. Because if you have accurate 1/4 inch seams, you should get pretty accurate with where the handle is going to be placed, okay? So there is what I have. Now, I'm going to go to this straight side here, the one that has the straight edges. And let me bring you down just a little bit. Okay, I think we can see a little better there. So on the side that has the seams that are straight going down, we are going to go a 1/4 inch down on that seam. And if you need to measure it, go ahead and measure it, and you're going to poke straight through. If you match up correctly, you are going to go right through the seam of that diagonal part of the handle. And I'm trying to see if we can see that or not. There is my needle right there, and it went through. So that one's good. So I'm going to just put this needle right here to make sure that we match it right there. And let's just check this other one, because sometimes just the handle might be smaller or larger on your fabric. So again, on the straight side here, I'm going to go down a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to poke it through. And let's get that to focus. And there it is, right through that seam, right through it. And so that matched up nicely. So I'm going to do this one, and while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and do this one. So just make sure you've got your blocks right here. There's my handle. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the edge on both sides. And there we have it, and it's not perfect, but I think it's close enough. Okay, next thing we're going to work on, let's start these eggs. Let's take P and add 2 eyes to the top 2 corners. Okay guys, my battery went out, and I started to go ahead and do a next step, and so I'll just backtrack a second and we'll get this done. I didn't go very far at all. So we're going to start working on the eggs right now, and I am starting with this egg right here. This is P, it's a rectangle, and I've just laid the squares that are labeled I in the upper corners of it. I've drawn diagonal lines. I even put a little bit of glue on them, and mine are glued already, glued in the corner so that you don't have to worry about them slipping or fighting pins that get in your way. And then I stitched right on those diagonal lines. Now I'm flipping them back and they match up, so I can cut now a 1/4 inch away from those seam lines. And no, I do not keep half square triangles that tiny. I think all you'd have is seam allowance on those. Okay, so we've got that first egg right there. Now let's do the second one. That is Q. I need a J, and an F. And here they are right here. And so this is basically, this is going to be this top part right here, F. This is my egg, and if there's a direction, you know, just watch your directions. This really doesn't have a direction, but I think I'm going to keep that little moon down there in there. Then our J's will go right there in the top corners, and so we'll put those on first. And so again, you can draw your diagonals if you need to, and they will go from corner to corner like this. And then since these are small squares and we want to keep them accurate, let's just put a little glue in those corners since those get cut off. And really you could use any kind of glue because they do get cut off. They won't be part of your quilt. Okay, just make sure those outside edges are matched up. Now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and stitch on those lines. And there we go. Flip it back. It matches fine. Trim off those corners 1/4 inch away from that seam. Now we just need to stitch this piece to the top. So just face it right sides together. And if you want to put a couple pins, mine are kind of wanting to flip up, you can put pins there. And just be sure you match the edges. Then if one side is looser, mine are fine, just put that toward your feed dogs and it'll take it in just fine. 1/4 inch from the top there. And there we have our second egg. I just went ahead and pressed up toward that piece. No seam is going to match. Well, let's see. Nope, no seam is going to match there, so we're good. Okay, now let's move on to this egg right here, and that is R. Then we need L, and we need, oh no, I. We need an I and a T. So R, I, and T. Now this one is at the top on the right hand side. This is going to be the egg fabric right here of this 4th egg, and then this is the background fabric. This is I. So one is a little bit larger than the other, and that's because one side of the egg is a little pointier than the other. So we can take our glue here, put a dab in the corner, just like so, and if you need to, draw those lines. There we go. I'm going to sew right on those lines. And there we have it. Make sure that they cover up that back fabric so that you know they are straight. If you have one that doesn't cover it up or is too long, I would suggest go ahead and take out the stitches and do it again. There's not very many stitches to remove and it'll go fast. All right, so here is this block right here. Now we're on our last egg, and we need S, U, and then 2 H's. Okay, so S is going to go long ways. This is not a perfect square. It is a rectangle, so make it long ways going across. U is going to go long ways going up and down. And then H's are just going to be your corner pieces. And these should fit perfectly, so we can do both of them at the same time. If one of them, or if they overlap, you have to do one at a time. But if they lay flat, you can do both of them at the same time. And so we'll do that. So these are going to go just like this. And if you've noticed, I've been using this marker a little more than my friction pins. I do like this, and I do really favor these over, but they're a little more expensive than my friction pins. I've just run out of ink in most of my friction pins, so I'm using this right now. I just need to go to Walmart and get some more friction pins. But this is a Sew Line product, and I shared it with you on my Open Gate subscription box when I was sharing with you what I had bought. And these are really nice. They are air erasable. I've never had any trouble with them. I don't hesitate to mark on top of a quilt with them because they do disappear. They are made for quilting. The friction pins, they can come back, especially if it gets cold. And also they are really not specifically made for fabric. And so you kind of use them at your own risk. I think I like to use them because I can draw in the seam lines, and that's fine. It's not going to be on my quilt. And also they're quite cheap if you go to Walmart or something like that. They have them just in the stationery department. And the friction pins will go away with heat, whereas this will just disappear with air. They do have some water disappearing pins that are good, and they also have some, I guess, the chalk, if you make sure the chalk is a good quality chalk that will just dust out. But I've just found that these roll on so nicely. They're kind of a roller ball, and they just roll on so nicely, and they mark so nicely that I really have enjoyed using these. I've got another one that I just received, but this one's lasted me quite some time, and I do a lot of sewing. So these are great pins. I will put some links in the description box if you're interested. Okay, so now I can put a little glue, or did I do that already? I did that, didn't I? Nope, I didn't. Put a little glue, I start talking, and then I forget what I've done. And I'm noticing it's getting a little cloudy outside, and I want to get that lawn mowed. So I'm kind of rushing. Okay, so now I just need to sew on the lines. All right, flip them back. They match. All I need to do is trim off that back. Okay. Now we need to put this right here like that, but we're not going to sew it that way. We're going to sew it to this first. So take your egg your R egg, and you're going to put right sides together, and you are going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that edge. Okay, so there is that piece all sewn. Now I have a piece of background fabric. Let's see, that's going to be there. That's going to be there. That's going to go right here, and that is G. And so here is G, and it's the same height as this egg right here. So we're going to put these two together, and we are going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that edge. And then there's that piece. And now we're going to take this piece right here, and we're going to sew it to this piece. So we can just flip this one up, right sides together. And on this one, let's see if we have anything matching. I don't think we do. No, it doesn't look like we've got any matching, so that's good. But I am going to pin this because I have quite a few seams in there, and I want to make sure they're not going to get flipped. So I can focus on that instead of focusing on keeping my fabric together. So a 1/4 inch away from that edge. And there we have that piece right there. And look, that one matches. We can put this one on it, right sides together. And again, I'm going to pin. Nothing is matching up. You don't have to worry about matching seams, but do worry about matching your ends. I just noticed I had some thread there. Let's trim that off. Okay. So we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that edge. And there we have that piece. Now if you thought, oh, I don't want a pointy egg, this egg will not be pointy. Once you put your 1/4 inch seam allowance in there, it's going to round it off. So if you're thinking, oh, that's going to be a pointy egg, I must have made a mistake. Nope, it's just not been sewn into anything yet. Okay, so now we've got 1 egg left, but it doesn't look like it's going to fit there. So we have a piece of fabric E, and we're just going to take E, right sides together, and we are going to sew that one on. And I'm just going to put, since it matches up perfectly, I'm going to put the solid piece of fabric toward my feed dogs. That way I can keep an eye on my seams up here so they don't get flipped. Okay, and there we have that piece. And so now we're just going to put these two together. So it looks like those two seams are matching there, and you can match them up like that, that's fine. But you're going to see once you sew it, it's going to actually have the egg fabric a little taller up. So I'm just going to put them right sides together, match my ends. And so a 1/4 inch away, and I'll show you what it looks like so you can see that they ended up not actually having to match a point. And there it is, and as you can see, I can bring it a little closer. That seam and that seam don't actually match up. They do before you sew them, but then they'll be offset. So I think those look really pretty. I like those colors. Okay, so there we have that. We are almost done, guys. This is the hard part, and this little matching up there was the hard part. This is just the busy work here. So now we're going to take our big piece. Oh, actually, we're going to go ahead and add in to our eggs. So I have 2 pieces of N, and that is my basket handle. And I'm going to put it right sides together with this piece and right sides together with this piece. I would go ahead and pin to make sure the ends match up, because we did have a lot of seams through here. And sometimes that will get you off a little bit. But it looks like that's good. And it looks like I have a little piece of my corner hanging out, but I'm going to go by the yellow fabric because I knew that was squared. And I also know that this top piece is squared. So see that little piece right there that's hanging out? That is just my square. I must have had it overhanging a little too much. But I will sew a 1/4 inch away from this basket handle fabric. Okay, I'll bring you back when those are on. And there is that piece right there. Now what we need is we need our bottom of our basket piece O. Let's pull that over here. And this is going to go like this. So I'm going to go right sides together, and I will pin this because it does go for a little distance, and I want to make sure I don't let one of my sides get pulled by the feed dogs and my ends not match up. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from this edge, and I'm going to, since my fabric's matched up fine and there's not one piece that's looser than the other, I'm going to put this piece on the bottom again, that way I can watch my seam allowances and not flip them. And we have that one on, and it looks like things are matching up okay. And again, up here, don't worry yet about this, okay? Now we're going to take piece K. Oops, we're not going to do K yet. We've got to round our basket ends. We need B's. And so here are the B's, and I'm going to have some half square triangles from these. We're going to do our stitch and flip corners just like this. Whoops, I'm going a little too fast on that one. Missed my corner. There we go. So I am going to put a pin right here and a pin right here, and I'm going to stitch right on that line, and then I'm going to make me a half square triangle too on each of those. And there we have that. Let's go ahead and trim those 1/4 inch away from that line. And now a seam. There is a half square triangle there. And a half square triangle there. And I need to give this a good press. All right, there is our basket. Now before we put this to the top, we have 2 side pieces, and these are K. And we are going to put them on each side of the basket. So that means we are going to go right sides together and right sides together. And on these I will pin. That's a long strip. And I'll put a pin on each end. And then check and see, do I have my basket's just a little larger, but not much. So I'll just put a pin in the middle, and then my basket will be toward my feed dogs on this one, even though I would prefer the flat fabric to be on my feed dogs. But I will match them up that way. There. And there. And same thing there. Okay, so 1/4 inch away from the edges on both sides. And there we have that piece. Now all we need to do is match up these 2 pieces. And so let's put right sides together, and let's start by putting our pins on each end. Okay, now we're going to take a look. Same thing, let's go on the side that has the stitches going up and down. It's a little easier to determine the 1/4 inch from there. So 1/4 inch from here, eyeball it, put your pin in. That one looks good. It went right through the seam of the handle on the back. Let's try this piece right here. 1/4 inch down on that seam, put a pin in it. Perfect. Do the same thing over here. 1/4 inch down from that seam there. Let's see, oh, I think I'm going to pull it this way just a little bit. Okay, now let's try it. 1/4 inch down on the line, Push your pin through it. That looks good. Same thing here. So there's 4 points you want to match up. 1/4 inch down. Looks good. Now I'm just going to put a pin in the middle to keep my fabric from slipping down and not getting caught in the stitches. And I am ready to sew 1/4 inch away from this top. Last seam. And there is our finished egg basket, and I did get a little off here, and it's okay. I can live with that. That doesn't hurt me any. But if you're a perfectionist, you can always take out the stitches right here from the end here and just kind of push it over and you can get it to work. But it doesn't bother me. That's not going to be seen, especially once you get it quilted and into your project. So I think this one turned out really pretty. Here was my first one with the Lori Holt fabric, and this is the fabric way that I'm going with for my placemats. Here is the rooster that it's going to go with. And here is the hen placemat already finished. So if you're new to this series, I have made all of these blocks in previous videos, and I have showed you how to assemble this placemat in one of those videos as well. So you can check those out. I'll put a link to the playlist of this chicken farm series in the description box below, and that way you can see all of the videos together. Hey guys, I am back, and after I made my quilt block yesterday, you know that I had run out and mowed the yard. And good thing I got out there and got it done, because we did get rain right afterwards, and it rained through the night, and it's kind of just a rainy, dreary day today. We definitely need the rain, so I am not complaining. But it gave me an excuse to stay inside and work on this placemat. So, like I've shown you with my other placemats, I use my main 12-inch block, and then I use 3 4-inch blocks for the side, and I am just using egg blocks for this one. So I'm going to show you how to make this egg right here, and it's a super simple block with just a few cuts. So I'm just going to show you the cuts right here, and I'm going to hold it up. You can see we only have 4 different cuts. 3 of them are in our background fabric, and 1 is in the egg fabric of your choice. And you just cut 2 of each of the background fabrics and then 1 of the egg. But then if you're going to be making the placemat and you need 3, you would do 3 times this amount and have 3 egg prints. So you do 6, 6, 6, and 3. And I would suggest you go ahead and do all of them at the same time and just chain piece them. It'll go together in just a few minutes, no time at all. So let me show you how to make these eggs. The first thing I'm going to do, I am going to take my 2 square pieces that are the background fabric, and I'm going to draw diagonal lines on all 4 pieces. Now, if you have the seam tape, you don't have to do this. And I'm just doing it now, and that way we just place it right on our fabric, and we don't have to draw them once they are on. And you're just going from one corner to the opposite corner with a nice straight line. And you do want to make sure that your lines are accurate. And that one's not, so I'm going to go back and move it. And that fabric keeps wanting to move on me. Let's try that. There, that's better. All right, then I'm going to take some Elmer's school glue, just the stick, and I'm going to use this for my pins. So we're going to pretend, if this is the egg we're looking at, this is the way your fabric's going to be, long side up and down. So we're going to put the big squares at the bottom so that we can snowball them. So I'm going to put a dot of glue on each corner. That corner is going to be cut off, so we are fine with that. And just make sure your diagonal lines are going this way, just like that, and I'll bring you down. Okay, I think you can see a little better. So there's my diagonal lines. Then I'm going to do the same thing here with my smaller squares, and again match them right on the edges. Like that. Okay, and that glue will hold them in place so that you can stitch without the pins being in your way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start on one of these lines, and I'll start right here, and I'm just going to do this whole egg without cutting my thread. So I'm going to stitch, I'm going to pull some thread out, lift up my presser foot, stitch, pivot, stitch, lift up my presser foot, pull some thread out, and stitch. And without cutting the thread, I can go all the way around. So let me do that and I'll be right back. And there I've sewn those corners on. I also flipped them back, checked them, and then trimmed a 1/4 inch away from that seam on all 4 corners, and then I just pressed it out. You can press it in any direction. There are no seams matching on this block. The last 2 strips that we're going to be adding are our 2 1" by 4½ inch strips. And they are going to be going on each side of your block. And I do suggest pinning at least on the ends, that way your feed dogs won't pull whichever fabric is facing them, so that the top fabric is longer. So a 1/4 inch away on both sides. And there I have sewn those sides on and just press them toward that side piece. So there you have it. That's how you make a really simple egg block. Remember, once you sew it into the seams, those points will get wider, so it'll look more like an egg. So I think this turned out really cute. What do you guys think? I think all of my placemats are going to look really good together. You lay them here so you can see the colors all together, and then I will back up. And that's as far back as I can get. So there we can see a little bit of all of them. So I think all of the colors are coordinating nicely, and I have used the same background on all of them. That way it pulls it together. I'm not sure, I think I'll probably do different colored bindings, but who knows, maybe I'll use the same one. I'm not sure yet. I hope you continue watching this series because we'll still be getting more blocks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to like and share. Click on the notifications if you want to know when my video comes out. That way you can come and jump right to it. I hope everyone has a great week, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.